Okay, so we're going to chat through our new module, customer success. Those of you that have been betaing it will see a couple new pieces today that'll be out live when it goes live next week. It is in QA right now. And those of you new to Lifecycle Insights, this is separate from our VCIO module. So probably right out of the gate, we always like to be super transparent and never gross. So this is another product. So this is not the QBR platform. This is another Lifecycle Insights product that you could purchase. The pricing mirrors the pricing of it mirrors the pricing of the VCIO tool. So whatever is on the left in the VCIO package. So if you haven't been to our pricing page in a while, right, this is what everybody on the call has, most likely. And customer success is an additional module. So it's really an add-on cost. So we always like to be transparent about that. So you can see it mirrors it as you go up in package size. And just a real high level look at what customer success does. We have a customer service dashboard, customer relationship management, stack alignment by service, for your stack and services, segmentation across customers, and customer health. And we're going to go through that, but just want, like everybody, to we aim to be respectful of everyone's time. So if anybody came to this call and thought that's not what I wanted to listen to, we totally understand. But we are glad all of you are here, and I'm excited to dive into it. So as we talk about customer success, first I want to I'm going to talk about a couple of slides because I did customer success for years. I left education and went to an ed tech company where I ran customer success. And this quote, I put this one on LinkedIn today because it really spoke to me. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. And if you think about that, you'll do things differently. But I think it is why in this space, so many folks hold on to and don't have a customer success function, new additional department employees, et cetera, until later, because the owner has built such relationships with everyone that there's a fear of kind of leaving their clients in the hands of a new customer success manager. So a quick story there. When I first became customer success manager, it was of Performance Matters. We had 60 clients. I had 33 of them, 13 in Maryland and 20 in New Jersey. And we got two new large clients. One was a, say, $800,000 a year client in Maryland, and one was a $1.2 million a year client in Orlando. And the owner of the company, who had been doing customer success, lived in Orlando. So he lived 10 minutes from the $1.2 million project. And I happened to live 35 minutes from the $800,000 a year project. And he couldn't do both. So it was like, good luck, little trooper. And Marnie ran off to do her thing in Maryland. But on Friday, so imagine if you're doing a project the scope of what pays $1 million a year. That takes a lot of time. Your brain space is all heads down on implementing that. Literally 3 Friday nights in a row, the owner would call me in a panic because he just remembered I existed, along with the other new account and the 33 other people I was in charge of. And he would be in a panic about how's Hartford, how's Howard County, how's Talbot County, how's Queen Anne County, like all of the districts, in a panic because he just felt like he'd left his children with a babysitter and forgot to call the babysitter. And so after the third week of that, I got exhausted because it's 5:30 on a Friday night and I'm trying to get my children to a football game or whatever. And he's anxious about how the districts are doing. I'm cooking dinner or whatever. And I have to, out of the top of my head, rattle off like, well, Howard's fine. They want an upgrade. They want this, they want this. And so in typical Marnie style, in comes a spreadsheet, because I needed to track a way to communicate where everybody was, that he could look at it on his time. And I didn't wake up in the middle of the night panicked that I hadn't told him something. So that fear piece speaks to me when I think about, he was worried that in 5 minutes I might drop the ball on one of his large clients and it could really ruin the business. So it is when we started tracking metrics around what would make a happy, healthy customer and would color code it for health. So that's part of what I'm going to show you in our customer success module. It's kind of where that thinking is when I started thinking about customer success differently, when you're looking at it holistically across all of your clients instead of just one at a time. We were doing ad hoc QBRs, but we found them to be autopsies and very reactive. So we also got to the point where we started being more proactive. So what happened after this quote came to mind is we started looking at, so I'm going to advance to another quote. An important component of preventing churn is the need to always be aware of how your customers define success. It will change over time, so ensuring that you're in sync regularly is important. So after a year as customer success, we merged with another company. So it wasn't an acquisition, it was a merger, and it was a complementary product. And so we doubled in size because we didn't cross sell. They just, part of the merger agreement was all of the customers would get all of the products. So we literally doubled the number of clients overnight without adding any more staff. So we suddenly had to come up with a system in place to make sure that we met the needs of all of our clients. But we couldn't do the ad hoc QBRs, right? We couldn't just put lids on pots. We had to have a process in place. And that's when we started setting a cadence for each client. So that $1.2 million client, we met with them monthly, right? The $10,000 a year client, not so much. So we talked about cadence, and we put process in place around helping them reach their goals. And that, for those of you that have been in the beta platform, you're going to see some goals today. So that's the new piece that we have added. So everything I've talked about so far, those of you that have baited, all those words sound familiar. And now there's a new one, their goals in the platform. So I've got 3 more quick quotes that don't have long stories behind them, but I think speak to the last piece of what we're doing in the customer success platform. First, customer success is where 90% of the revenue is, right? So your new logos are adding on top, and you're rarely doubling. So it's more likely that 90% of your regular income is coming from customer success and renewals. So a large part of your customer base, a large part of your focus needs to be on ensuring your customers are successful. I liked this one. You can focus on adoption, retention, expansion, or advocacy, or you can focus on the customer's desired outcome and get all the things. And last, one of the best methods for retention is continuing to add value after the sale. Silence is a retention killer. So I always said that in tickets to my customer success managers. If somebody is not using the platform and they're not putting in tickets, right, then the silence could be deadly. And I think this talks to a couple of pieces in the platform. So that's some of the motivation for me behind our customer success platform. And we're going to dive in and check it out. So Alex, before I dive in, any of those ring true from your world of how you landed with QBRs or how they felt and kind of scaling up customer success?
I feel like we always were trying to fight the silence is deadly concept, right? That client who says everything's good, everything's good, everything's good. And then next thing you know, they're asking for passwords or something else is going on. And what they really meant to us, what we found out they really meant was everything's good because I don't want you to come out here and try and sell me something else. And I feel like the only time you try and come talk to me is when you're trying to sell me something.
So I think that comes back to, like, if you're focused on their goals, right, and use the language that they use around their goals, you're much less likely for them to get the wrong impression because you were selling them what you believe they need, but they just heard sale because it wasn't kind of in their language. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I am in the VCIO, so this should look familiar to everybody, unless I kick myself out. If I am. And I'm going to go in the drop-down picker and grab customer success. And then we're going to talk about a few of the pieces that kind of align to the story, you know, the way I mentioned it. The first thing that would happen when Woody would call me on Friday nights in a panic is he would run through all of his clients, but he would run through them in his mind of like the biggest to the smallest, because he was most panicked that the brand new $860,000 client was going to churn. So that is one of the first things we took a look at in the platform. And that is, how do we rate our clients based on, one, how often we should communicate to them and which ones we should be most panicked about. So we call this segmentation. The horizontal axis is value. So from your low value to your high value based on MRR, and your vertical y-axis is effort. So low effort to high effort. So what I see here in my top right quadrant is high value, high effort. So these would be the folks that I need to meet with most often. So the $1.2 million a year client, yep, they get quarterly or monthly, more likely monthly, business reviews, but they also got regular weekly check-ins, right? Versus the bottom right quadrant, high value, low effort. These are the most profitable clients, right? This is where we would love everyone to be. They're paying a good MRR per seat. As a matter of fact, if you enter this number of seats in the platform, we can recalculate this chart based on MRR per seat, thanks to some of the feedback of folks on this call. And down here, what I look at is, you can see these are colored, and they're colored based on their health score, which we'll talk about in a minute. But if these are my most profitable clients and they're red, this should send up a red flag to you, right? Something should happen in order to address, fire off your CPR checklist. Bottom left, these are low value, but also low effort. So if you think about the slide that I said that when the silence piece, right? Silence is deadly. If you're not communicating with them and they're not communicating with you, like Alex said, that's when you're most likely to be blindsided. So if you've got folks, and maybe these are your annual business review people, you still need to do something to communicate with them. I talked to a couple folks yesterday who said that, like in Cybersecurity Awareness Month, they remarket and say, right, these are the top 3 things we're doing with you. Or if it's Password Awareness Week, right, like we'll send out a reminder that you want to talk to them about MFA. So kind of remarketing to your existing clients so that they recognize what you're doing for them, and you're not silent to them, because that's somebody else can't come in and break a wedge on that relationship if you're keeping communication with them. This top left quadrant, which we're actually renaming to D. So this bottom one will be C and this one will be D, because this is really the lowest value, because this is low value, high effort clients. And these are the ones that you need to make a plan to move. And if I'm a high effort, low value client, you either need to pay more, take me less time, or maybe the rare case I need to fire you, right? Because there's not alignment with your processes. And I know, Alex, you just nodded because you don't love the let's just go fire them all client.
I hate it, to be honest. I'll do anything to avoid that. And a lot of it just comes down to why I'm the guy who will go sit down at the table and have the business meeting, because I want to get to the bottom of the problem instead of go fire the client. And I'll work until I'm exhausted and frustrated and angry before I'll fire that client, because I just think that too often we speak in language they don't understand and they speak in language that we don't understand, and we haven't made the effort to meet in the middle. And most often, if we put the right foot forward, it's not the problem that we think it is. It's simply that we haven't communicated the value and they haven't communicated the resistance.
Well, and if you, so the 2 words you just said, value and resistance, right? If value is the issue, when you can communicate the value, then they should be able to understand why they would pay more. If the resistance is the issue, then if you can run those roadblocks, move them out of the way, then you get to closer to automation. And they fall in this bottom left quadrant, which makes them profitable again. So I think that's a good point. That's why Gainsight just did a study, and they said that by far 63%, I believe, said that QBRs were the #1 way to drive customer success. So the very first thing you should do for customer success is do business reviews. We support that message, for the record. And that's why you're all here. So we appreciate that. This customer segmentation, to see what that looks like, we actually have a whole list of all of the clients where you can input the value. Right out of the gate, customer success is manual. And so you would manually enter the values or move the sliders. And the effort level is really driven by what you believe would make a reasonable scoring tool for effort. So one of the first things, Q2 is going to be all about automating customer success. And the first thing we're going to automate is the ability to pull over ticket counts. So if you wanted to equate effort with ticket counts, we're going to automate that. But other folks look at effort as, are they multiple locations, right? Are there complexities, high compliance, those types of things that make a client tricky to work with, and consume a lot of time. Maybe they have a ton of outdated hardware and it's just harder to support because of that. That would be a high effort client. So that's thinking about how you're going to score them effort wise is important there. Where most folks start with customer success is in the customer detail itself. So it's always good. I think for customer success, it's important to start at one of like your best clients, one of your least profitable or worst clients, and then a standard client. What's really in the middle, because it helps you define the range of how you want to look at folks. So here we can enter, just some information about that. If you think as a customer success manager, what would I need to know right in front of me, so that I can do my work here without having to hop into lots of different platforms. If you've got your contracts in the VCIO platform, we can pull them over to automate the MRR. So that's the first step toward some more automation. You can enter the number of employees because we're doing some per seat metrics. And then again, you enter your effort value. Now, I mentioned on the customer segmentation page that we defined health, right? That's how you got a health score. I'm actually going to switch to Dunder Mifflin for a second because I think I haven't done health scores. We reset everything, and so I lose all the data that I had set, but I can go ahead and add it in. So here, this is where right out of the gate, you get kind of three metrics: sentiment, CSAT, and organization. A lot of folks, well, CSAT will be one of the things we automate, but CSAT score is really only one metric toward customer health. If you think about what is their attitude toward technology, their security posture could be a threat to the business. I always think a change in the organization in terms of the CEO, or maybe they're doing an acquisition. Those could all impact the customer health and whether or not you could potentially be in jeopardy of churn, because that is one of the top goals of a customer success platform, is to help you track and identify potential for churn. And I typically get a lot of head nods when I say this sentence. If a new CEO is coming, they're often bringing either their nephew, that's an IT guy, right? Like, oh, my nephew can do this. Or they are saying, oh, I like my IT company, right? And we're going to bring them with us. So if org score, if I found out that I was getting a new CEO in one of the organizations I worked with, I would set that at a 0 and turn customer health red and start doing things to build a relationship with that new CEO. So that is what colors, I can see this client is red and in the top right quadrant. So they are a high value, high effort red client. I need to do something to have a conversation with them. I'm going to jump over stack alignment for a minute because we have a lot of reporting around that, and talk about these last three, and then we'll come back to this. Contracts, this is just pulling directly from what you already have in the VCIO tool. So again, we're trying to make this very easy for a VCIO, a customer success manager, account manager, to take a look at everything they need to do to help drive the conversations around their account management. So same thing with the QBRs. You can actually dig in and it'll push it right back. You'll just put it into this frame, the business review that you've already done. So it's one and the same. You don't have to do duplication of effort. The new piece, so Greg and Trisha, I see you on here. So I know that we talked about this last time. I don't remember who else was on the call, but I know you two were there. Alex, I know you've been in the, not Farling, other Alex, have been in poking around too. So it will be coming out next week when we go live. So the goal piece has really been something we've been talking about for a long time. And you have the ability to add high level goals along with tasks associating them to recommendations and contracts. So this is really where you can, and these green sliders are whether or not you want them customer facing or not. So we have talked about, we're going to build a report into Report Builder so that if you have customer facing goals, this is something that you will be able to report out of Report Builder in the VCIO side of the house. So we feel like there's a lot of power in that. I'll pause for a second and see if anybody that has, I've lost my chat window, so goodness knows if there's any chat.
Chat's covered. Nope, we're good.
Got it. Okay, perfect. So we're pretty excited about this. There are no other customer success platforms in the managed service space. It was interesting. I was talking to another vendor this morning about customer success, and I showed them this platform, and she was blown away. She's like, that's exactly what we do as vendors on the SaaS side of the house, but it's specific to managed service providers. Vendors don't have things like the recommendations and the contracts. So to be able to integrate with the PSA, she thought was a huge win, which makes me quite happy, to be quite honest. Stack alignment. So Alex, do you want to give your talk about like the recipe for success, the peeling of the onion layers? Which of your favorite analogies when we talk about stack is
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I'll switch all of those and go to the chocolate cake recipe, right?
Chocolate cake. Okay, let's do chocolate cake today.
We all know the conversation, right? If you go to bake a chocolate cake and you use the same ingredients every time, you get the same output, right? You get a chocolate cake. And if you swap out your cocoa powder, you're not going to get a chocolate cake. You're going to get something with not enough flavor and that you don't enjoy eating, that disappoints everyone. Your clients, often who are the ones who have the most mediocre experience, are the ones who consume a third, half, 2/3 of your stack, and then they don't understand why they don't have a wonderful, amazing experience. And so a big part of customer success is making sure that they consume the components of the stack that are really going to move the needle for them where performance is concerned, right? So, if you have a DNS filtering product and a client who continues to get malware, but they don't want to pay $3 a seat for DNS filtering, then you have a problem. And you've got a customer who's pissed because they think your tools aren't doing their job, when in reality, they haven't consumed the tool they need to do that portion of the job.
So that is what we're trying to get insights into. We heard a ton that this is really a struggle for MSPs to track where folks are aligned, like where are all of the products my client has and doesn't have according to my stack. So I'm going to go into an individual client, but then I'll show you aggregated reporting across all clients. So inside an individual stack, one of the very first things you will do is set up your standards and services. So you can see this left-hand column are all of the standard services that you provide as an MSP. I'm going to filter by my standard stack. So you could do a standard stack, a premium stack. You can do good, better, best. You could do high security, like premium security, standard security. You could do an ancillary stack. So maybe ancillary services would be not something that you would automatically put in an agreement, but maybe this is a VoIP provider, printer copier services, ISP, something that would be a good upsell opportunity, but not expected because not everybody might have those needs. So right now I'm looking at my standard stack, and this is what I would hope to see for all of my clients, right? That everybody's on my standard stack. But as I go across this, I can see first notes if I have them, and if it's applicable to this client. So it might not be that if a client doesn't have any cloud-based services, I wouldn't, maybe there's something I don't even have to worry about. It's not applicable to the client. But what I do here is pull over what product are they currently using and get insights into whether or not they're using my preferred product. So for example, they've got Barracuda, which is my preferred. For MFA, they're using Google Authenticator, and I really want them to use Cisco Duo. So this is where you start to see there are some things I want to do differently because they're not completely aligned to my stack. So you can go down and see exactly how that looks per product. In the alignment column, so Lifecycle Insights loves a good red, yellow, green. And so let's talk about what they mean here. Green would be they're fully aligned. They are using my preferred product and they're buying it from me. partially aligned, they're using a product, but it's not my preferred product, or potentially they're using a product, but they're not buying my preferred product, but they're not buying it from me. So maybe you want to see if you can transition them. And then not aligned at all. They're not using a product. They're using an outdated one that can't be supported. Something that would identify a risk or an opportunity for you. The next column is agreement inclusion. So again, our goal here is to help you track how aligned they are to your services and any opportunities. If you include firewall services in the agreement, then whether they're aligned or not, there's no upsell opportunity. You just might still have some work to be done, right? So because we're going to look at these metrics two different ways, it's important to consider whether or not there's a financial, impact associated to it. You can connect these or create recommendations. So if I see that here with my MFA, there's an opportunity, I could create a recommendation for Cisco Duo. And maybe that is just going to be, I'm just going to throw in some labor costs to have something. And I'm going to save that. And then I can link it to this. So I can see that it is linked here, that I've proposed Cisco Duo. And it is, now you can see it's now linked to my, linked to this standard. Now there's no opportunity here because it is included in the agreement, but I still want to propose this. So maybe I go take that dollar figure off. I wasn't telling my story straight. But you're getting insight into how we're building opportunity, both monthly recurring revenue, so that's the MRR column, and non-recurring revenue. Now let's see what this looks like. Actually, I'm gonna filter on one more thing on this page, and then Alex, you can tell me if there are any questions. You can also filter by recommendation status. So if it was proposed versus active, declined, etc., so you can have a good sense of the likelihood of that money coming in any given period of time. So before I jump to the
That's
stack,
good.
we're
Yep.
good? Okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to jump to the stack alignment page now. And the stack alignment is all of the standards down the left, all of the services you offer, all the clients across the top. Now, I'm going to highlight another feature here, and this is the ability to track clients by account manager or by vertical. So if I go up to filter by account manager and grab all of Alex's accounts, Alex can get this view, or I as Alex's manager could get this view and see where the opportunities are. So that week on Alex's check-in, I'm going to say, hey, Alex, have you checked with Hogwarts, right? It seems like you have some opportunity there. And if I go and switch this to alignment, I can say, are they using some potions? Because they're only 13% aligned to our products. So there's some risk there, right? In terms of opportunity for landing and expanding, risk in terms of what are they doing for their other services, and are they even secure with that small amount of our stack. So here we can see who's really well aligned with green, who's not well aligned. And then down the total column, you can even see which product has the largest opportunity. So which of the tools really do we maybe need to do a marketing campaign around, talk to the sales team about? All right, web filtering. We have 4 of our, so only 1 of Alex's clients is aligned in terms of web filtering. So maybe we need to have a conversation around what messaging we're going to put out around web filtering tools, etc.
And this could show you some other things too, when you're really looking at it per account manager, right? If you have multiple account managers and one has all their clients dialed in, the other has all their clients all over the place. Do we have a problem with capacity? Does the guy who doesn't have all of his clients dialed in have too many accounts and can't deal with them all? Is there a messaging problem for that human and they just need some retraining? Is there a performance problem where that human just isn't putting in the effort and doing the job and doing the work? So this will give you one more tool to kind of keep on top of those account managers and have some real KPIs to hold them accountable. If for nothing else, then to continue to drive down that amount of outstanding revenue that's available in their client base.
So I think one thing around customer success, you mentioned KPIs. when everyone's working for service tickets, it's really easy to see closure rates of service tickets, et cetera, but that's not really a metric that makes sense for a customer success person, right? So what kind of metrics are specific to them when customer happiness and health is part of, like, we're trying to help you quantify the human element when you've got people, process, and product in place for all of the tech pieces. Those are easy to track, right? That's just math. So we're helping you visualize those same things for the human success side of the house. I'm going to deselect Alex here and go back to everybody. But the other piece that Alex mentioned, so you can look at this by not just account manager, multiple account managers, but the other piece is think of this in terms of verticals. So if we went to all of the restaurants, let's see how we do, right? So our restaurants are doing well. This is our food group. Now this is imaginary demo data, so I didn't even know what I was going to get when I clicked that button, frankly. But if you did this for your law offices versus your manufacturing plants versus your dental offices, I hear all of the time how dental offices refuse to refuse to follow all of the rules around compliance. So that makes me a little sketchy. I feel like I'm going to have a chat with my dentist next time he doesn't have his hand in my mouth. But this is a good way for you to review these same metrics by vertical, which is not really a way folks have had that insight.
And that again might lead you to find that you work really well with a vertical that you hadn't even realized.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm such a data nerd. I would sit in here and look at all of those, all the permutations of that to see where my strengths were, where my weaknesses were, and where I needed to move the needle. So that's kind of the hot, well, that's nearly all of the bells and whistles. I will show you a couple of the admin pieces. So account managers will pull over all of your contacts and you can decide if they are an account manager or not. We will allow you, so we will auto create groups. So if you, as soon as you check that Alex is an account manager, we will create a group and then you can go and associate for Alex all of the companies that he works with. Companies can be in multiple groups. So you could give me access to Alex's accounts, right? So if Alex was out for an extended period of time, we hear this a lot where maybe a customer success manager is out on sick leave and someone else has to pick up their accounts. This is an easy way for you to give insights into those pieces and control the securities around that. And then the last piece for administration is the stack manager. And so this is where you first you go in and create your own tags. So again, we don't mandate what tags you use. We believe everybody's got their own cake recipe that makes the best cake for them. And so however you would define your stack, you create those tags here. You can then build within each service whether or not that's active for you. Right? Is that something you sell? Do you have a CSAT tool that you implement with them or not? You can make it hidden if you don't. Do you automatically include it in the agreement? And what product are you using and which is your preferred option? Here I could turn on and say CSAT's going to be one of my ancillary products. And we're going to have that. So now that's in my ancillary stack. It'll tell you how many are using it. So I've got 3 customers that use internal team chat with 0 opportunity. This gives you quick insights too across all of your clients. You know, we've got a lot of folks using our firewall, et cetera. So that's kind of how you set up the stack manager piece. So I'm going to take us back to the dashboard because now we have a better sense of where all of this data is coming from. You can filter by companies and you can multi-select companies. Now, if you've set up an account group, you could grab all of your law offices at once. But if you're thinking, I just want to look at these 3 companies because I'm really trying to compare what that looks like, you could do that. So I could grab, you know, just these 3 and get some insight into, you know, the health is red on all of these. And maybe I grab all the red. You can, as a matter of fact, you can grab by company health and I would see like, what is the problem? Where are they not aligned? You know, I can hide MRR and just look at the opportunity and really start getting some insights around that. On the left-hand bottom left, you can see the largest concentration of opportunity by tag and service. So in my standard stack, these are the MFA and web filtering are the 2 things I need, you know, to really work on more. And then for stack alignment. Where is my biggest opportunity? So we're trying to give you those high level pieces. Again, you can filter by show me all of my top right clients, right? More to the point, probably show me on my top left. I'm on a mission to move my high effort, low value clients. What do I need to do to move them? Well, none of them have web filtering, right? Like what else is common across all of these that maybe I can go have some conversations with them? The other filters, again, by account group, account manager, and then company health. So what do all of my healthy clients look like, right? Let's see. Oh, I just unchecked it. All of my green clients, what do they look like? And it's interesting because their opportunity was very different, right? They weren't missing the core pieces of my stack. So I think interesting insights there. Have to build out some demo data that's more realistic, but you get the idea of what we're doing. All right. So has the chat been busy?
Chat's good. Chat's good. Mark's asking if there's a way we can generate some sort of a stack report that they can show to their clients to show, hey, don't forget we offer these other services. And I think that's an interesting conversation around, especially around some of the ancillaries, right? Like VoIP and some of that kind of stuff. So it might be a report that we can generate down the road.
Yep, I like that. Making that note. Yeah, I was going to say landing in report builder with that. Yep.
Yeah. I think that's the only place it makes sense, because I certainly don't think anybody wants their customer over on this side of the security group. Do you want to talk about security groups real quick?
Yeah. So, and I like Alex's point. If VCIO is set up and running well, it makes customer success run much better. Absolutely. Like that's why we encourage folks to make sure that you've got the contracts pulled over. You just get a lot more data and insights over here, right? If you've got that up and running first. So for security groups, we have expanded the security groups that are in the VCIO platform so that you can build multi-layered groups. If you give them access to VCIO, do you want them to have access to all accounts in customer success, just their accounts in customer success? So those permutations are all still available in the admin page. And now they're expanded in the security group opportunities. So when you add a new security group, same thing, you now have customer success, and you could give read-write access to any page. If you have only associated a customer success person to see their companies, you will always get the more restrictive piece. So if they can only see those companies in the VCIO side, they will only see those companies in the customer success side. And we do have documentation around this if you really want to take a look at the permutations of security groups. Which is the other thing I'm writing down, because we said we would have a conversation around that one week too.
Yeah.
And some best practices we've seen there. Any other questions on this Friday? Yeah.
Yeah, fire away with questions, and the beta testers that are in the room, feel free to drop some comments or mention some of the things that you've had success with. Would love to hear your feedback as we go through this. Everybody's really quiet today.
For some, it's spring break week.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying, Jeff. So if we do some reporting on it, yeah, we definitely want to give you a friendly name, if you will, to show on a report.
Oh, so more not the product name, but the service name.
Yeah, I mean, the MSP really wants to be able to say,
Yep.
hey, we'll change our product as we see fit because we know better than you do. Again, they don't want to argue with the doctor about what brand of scalpel to use. They're gonna change the product as they see fit, and customers can buy the end result, not the product.
Yeah, so you can add services in the stack manager.
Yeah, but I think what he's talking about is on the reporting side,
Right. So, but So what I would imagine is whatever the service is, that would be what you're recommending, right? Like we're going to recommend application whitelisting. And even though your product is Threat Locker, you would want the service name to come over in the reporting. Is that what you mean, Jeff?
Oh,
Correct.
yeah, because, yeah, that makes sense, because we do have services versus products separated out there.
No, that's a good point, that the reporting should be as genericized as possible.
Yeah. You're missing these key pieces, but we're not going to specify what software in that stack we're using for that.
So I'm curious, as we think about that, right, the stack opportunity here. First, maybe on the customer report, we don't say opportunity, but maybe insights, right? So they might not want to hear it that way. But if we filter by a single company, you then really would see, right, web filtering, dark web monitoring, which don't have the product name associated to it, but definitely highlight that these are the places that, we want to take a look.
Right.
So I think we have the ability to do that, but making it not a graph that cuts off half the wording would be a good thing. Perfect. Well, I appreciate everybody's time today. We had a full house for sure. I will stop the recording, and then if anybody has any questions that are specific to them that they didn't want on, I say I'm going to stop the recording. There we go.